Joined now with wide receiver coach McDonald, George McDonald. And Coach, you're out there hustling the last couple of months here at the University of Miami, trying to put this class together. And let's first go to what you look for in a receiver. We'll get to the signees, but what are some of the things when you're watching tape and you come from the National Football League, you're back in college, and what do you look for in this high school receiver, and how can he help you not only as a freshman but down the road a little bit?
The biggest thing that we try to look for is game speed. You know, a lot of people get caught up in 40-yard dash times, but those are a little bit misleading. So the first thing we look at is game speed. Does a receiver jump off the tape? That's the number one thing. If he jumps off the tape, he gets our attention. Then the next thing we're looking for is what he does with the ball in his hands, you know, in terms of catching it, how he catches it, and then the yards after the catch. I think those are two things that really distinguish receivers, because there's a lot of receivers who can catch it, a lot of receivers who can catch it and fall down. But if a kid has really good game speed, meaning he's running by everybody on the tape, and if he can catch the ball and do things after the catch naturally, you know, those are things that really get my attention just from things I've learned in the National Football League.
When you were able to watch the tape on Rashawn Scott, was he able to give you all those answers to that question?
Rashawn had a lot of answers to a lot of questions. You know, he's a tall kid, 6'2", and he's a multi-sport kid, and you can see that on tape. You know, in high school he played quarterback, so you see the athleticism of him behind center in the gun, and then also he was able to do a nice job with the bubble screens, you know, making people miss in space. For a guy that's 6'2", he was really running away. But the biggest thing that Rashawn did on tape was he played with such great effort and passion. When you saw him at secondary, he'd come up and really lay a hat on a player, but he'd also chase the guy down, strip the ball, and return it the other way. So those are things that, you know, when you watch Rashawn as a total athlete, he really jumps off the tape.
Now that Rashawn has signed, when you're talking to him in the off season, what do you try to relay to him, the things that he has to do to help you for 2011? You know, you don't want to just sign a kid and say, well, we'll see what happens when you get here. You want him to come in, and Coach Golden wants him to be able to come in and compete right away.
Right, and that's the biggest thing. The last word you said is compete. You know, with all the guys that we're recruiting in this class, we're telling them, hey, be ready to come in and compete for a starting role. There's no taking a back seat. The one thing Coach Golden has told the staff and told every recruit is that you're going to have a chance to compete to start. You're going to make us better either by pushing up the competition or be getting on the football field. So when we talked to Rashawn, just told him to keep getting in the weight room, keep training, and enjoy his senior year, but just in his mind, prepare himself to really come in and compete and not take a back seat to anybody.
Okay, we are joined with wide receiver coach George McDonald, and Coach McDonald also local talent, Philip Dorsett, a guy that really helped Miami as far as making sure everybody knew about the youth, so to speak. He was one of the kids that helped recruit other players for the University of Miami.
Right. Philip's a special kid. You know, him being a local kid, he grew up being a Hurricane fan with his family, and the biggest thing about Philip is he bleeds in orange and green. You know, he really wants to come to the Canes. Even through the transition period, he stuck with us. When I came in, he stuck with me, and we've developed a great relationship. I gave him a nickname, Prime, because he was doing so much talking on the internet, talking about, you know, the recruiting class. But he's done such a special job for us, and I really think he's going to be a special player. You know, he's a dynamic guy with the ball in his hands, similar to Rashawn. He has great short area quickness, and the thing that he can do is when he gets the ball, he can really explode up the field. So I'm excited to have a guy from St. Thomas, and especially a kid of Philip's character coming in and helping us lead us to the future prominence.
And Coach, you talk about St. Thomas. You know, that they've been one of the best programs not only in the state of Florida but nationally over the years. And Coach Smith has done a phenomenal job there, and the pipeline continues. It's very important for the University of Miami to do well at St. Thomas, and for them to continue to send players to this university.
Right. Coach Smith has done a great job at St. Thomas for years. He's actually been pretty influential in my career also, so he's helped me along the way. But the thing that you know when you're getting a St. Thomas player is that they know how to work, they have good discipline, and they understand winning football. And I think there's something to say about a kid who's won a national championship. He's won at a high level in high school. Now he can bring that same effort, same determination to the University of Miami and understand what we're trying to get accomplished, because he's done it on a smaller scale. So Coach Smith does a great job there.
Coach, we had a chance to have you on Hurricane Hotline a few weeks ago, and you said something that'll stay with me for the rest of my life. You said that at your position of coaching wide receivers, blocking is non-negotiable. You have to block. There's nothing to negotiate. And how do you take high school kids? You know, and that's the thing that intrigues people. How do you take high school kids that maybe were not asked to do that? They were asked to catch the football, to make the plays. How do you get them in here, and how do you teach them to get their nose dirty?
That's the first thing we're going to talk about. You know, when we all come together as a group before fall camp, you know, we do our introductions, we give our goals. But the first thing that we talk about is we're going to be physical players, and it starts with the run game. You know, the University of Miami is going to have great running backs. We have great running backs here, and it's our job to get into the end zone. So as much pride as we take in scoring touchdowns, which every receiver wants to do, we're going to take as much pride in making that block that springs a touchdown. And we might even emphasize that block more than the touchdown, just so they understand that we're going to block. We're going to be a physical group, and that's going to be run and pass.
A common question that's always seems to be asked of the wide receiver coach when you have more than two is, right, how do you divide the catches? How do you keep people happy? How do you tell the receivers that a catch is earned, it's not given?
Right. And you said it's earned. Everything that Coach Golden is going to bring to this program is that you're going to earn what you get. We're going to earn the right to win, and we're going to earn the right to get the ball. In terms of keeping guys happy, if you work hard enough, you'll be happy. What I tell them is, I don't control the depth chart, you control the depth chart. So if you outwork the guy that you're competing with, everything takes care of itself. So the one thing that we're going to try to develop is selfless group, meaning that we're not concerned about who's getting the catches, who's getting the touchdowns. All we really want to be concerned about is getting the W at the end of the day.
Don Bailey with Coach McDonald, the wide receiver coach. And Coach, you look at this wide receiving core that you already have in place. There's an Aldarius Johnson, the Tommy Streeters, the Allen Hearns. You've got, Travis Benjamin, LaRon Bird, Kendall Tompkins, Davin Johnson. There's a bunch of experienced players and some guys that have been redshirted that don't have the experience. Right. But you've got a nice blend. It seems that you add this freshman class to a group of seniors, you hope that some good mentoring goes on.
Right. And like I said, when I first came here and I met with the guys at the wide receiver position, I was impressed with them. I mean, they've all been highly recruited kids coming out. They all look the part, and they've had a nice career. You look at LaRon, he's had a really nice year this past season. You look at Travis Benjamin, and you see all the potential that he's had with the nice yards and catches he's had, and he just broke the 60-meter record. So you got instant speed, like I said, instant coffee with him, and you got LaRon, who's a reliable guy who can stretch the field and make big plays. So I'm expecting those two guys to take the mentorship with the whole group, also with the freshmen. And then you got guys like Aldarius Johnson, Tommy Streeter, who I believe that they're right on the cusp of really breaking out of their shell. So I think the best way to break out of a shell is bring in two dynamic freshmen and let those guys compete. Because like I said, you're either going to step up and rise your game up, or you're going to get passed by. And the last thing you want to do is get passed by a freshman going into your senior year.
And Coach McDonald, you also mentioned that the University of Miami offense is now under being coordinated by Coach Fish. We're going to run the football here, right, at the University of Miami. Right. And the good news is that people think that that's going to take away opportunities for receivers. Really, it just makes it easier for the receivers.
Right. Anytime you have a good running game, you're going to have a good passing game. And the one thing that it might be a misconception is we're going to distribute the ball to our playmakers. Coach Fish has made that known with the offensive staff, meaning that whoever our playmakers are, they're going to get touches, whether it's the receivers or running backs. But we know to win an ACC championship, to have a chance to compete for a national championship, you have to have a consistent and a dominant run game. And our offense is going to start with the run game, but we're going to throw the ball to score points. And that's the biggest thing that we talk about.
And Coach, let's go back to the freshmen for one more time here. And you look at this group, and when you identified what was available to the University of Miami at that position, tell us what attracted you again, for the fans that are joining us now, to Rashawn Scott, who signed. He's a Melbourne Treasure Coast guy, really a place that Miami has had some success, but notoriously that's not been the University of Miami's area. So we had to go in there and really pull a kid out of there who was recruited at a lot of places, and then Philip Dorsett from St. Thomas.
Well, the challenge that Coach Golden laid out was go out to every high school in the state and try to find the best student athletes. And with Rashawn, we believe that we have a diamond in the rough. He's a great athlete. He's a dynamic athlete that maybe didn't just play receiver, but he played a lot of different positions, which might have diluted how good he really is. We feel like once he gets into the wide receiver mode 100%, with his athleticism, his height, his quickness and speed, he's really going to have a chance to impact our receiving core. And then with Philip, he's instant coffee. He's done a great job. He's been coached great by Coach Carter down at St. Thomas and Coach Smith. So he knows offensive football. He has to get in the weight room a little bit, but he knows how to play receiver. He's a polished guy that can get in and out of his breaks. So that's the biggest thing that developed with us with those two guys.
Okay, for Coach McDonald, I'm Don Bailey on National Letter of Intent Day here at the University of Miami, and we'll give it back to Joe Zagacki.
Okay.